The massive Zaxkarian warship dropped out of hyperspace with the practiced elegance of an apex predator. Its crystalline hull caught Earth's sunlight, scattering prismatic patterns across its 15-mile length. Behind it, like a cascade of falling stars, the rest of the invasion fleet emerged, 50 ships strong, each one having participated in the conquest of 1,000 worlds. Commander Zextal stood on his command deck, his forearms clasped behind his back in the traditional pose of imminent victory. His secondary eyes scanned the tactical readouts, while his primary set remained fixed on the blue-green planet before him. Primitive, he chittered to his bridge crew. Class 7 civilization. Nuclear capabilities, minimal orbital presence. A gesture from his lower right arm brought up a holographic display of Earth's military satellites and space stations. No energy shields, no FTL capabilities. Standard conquest protocol. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility that didn't exist on any official document, Captain Jessica Miller watched the alien armada appear on her quantum imaging display. Her hand tightened on the arm of her command chair, but her voice remained steady as she addressed the bridge crew of humanity's best-kept secret. "Status report," she commanded. "AMS Thunderchild systems are at 100%, Captain." Lieutenant Commander Marcus Rodriguez reported from the engineering station. "Hybrid drive is hot, shields are charged, and weapons are armed. They haven't detected us through the oceanic camouflage field." Miller nodded, a grim smile playing at the corners of her mouth. For 15 years, they'd prepared for this moment. The crashed Zaxkarian scout ship in the Atacama Desert had given humanity a glimpse of what was coming. And time to prepare. The alien commander's voice boomed across every communication channel on Earth, translated in real time by their advanced systems. "People of Earth, I am Commander Zextal of the glorious Zaxkarian Empire. Your world has been chosen for integration into our domain. Surrender now, and you will be permitted to serve as a productive member of our society. Resist, and we will reduce your cities to ash." In the UN Security Council chamber, world leaders watched with pale faces as the alien ships took up attack positions around the planet. Military advisors whispered about nuclear options, fighter jets, and missile systems, all useless against an enemy of this caliber. "Their scan patterns are getting closer to our position," Rodriguez warned, his fingers dancing across his holographic controls. "Passive sensors are picking up energy signatures consistent with weapon batteries powering up." Miller keyed her quantum-encrypted comlink to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. "This is Thunderchild. We are ready to proceed with Operation Trojan Horse." The response came back immediately. "You are cleared to engage, Captain Miller. Show them what humanity can do." "All hands." Miller's voice rang through the ship's corridors, where 300 of Earth's finest stood ready at their stations. "This is the moment we've trained for. These aliens think they know what humanity is capable of. They think they've seen everything we can throw at them." She allowed herself a fierce grin. "Let's prove them wrong." The Thunderchild's hybrid drive, combining human nuclear fusion with theoretical physics that even the Zaxkarians hadn't mastered, hummed to life. The massive warship began its ascent from its underwater berth, displacing thousands of tons of ocean water. On the Zaxkarian command ship, a junior sensor operator's antenna suddenly stiffened. "Commander, energy spike detected in the planet's ocean." Sir, these readings can't be correct." Zextal turned all four eyes toward the display, his mandibles clicking in confusion. "What do you mean, incorrect?" The ocean surface erupted in a massive geyser as humanity's secret weapon rose into view, water cascading off its stealth black hull like a waterfall. The Thunderchild's silhouette, sleek and predatory, reflected nothing. A shadow rising from the depths, ready to challenge an empire. And in that moment, watching the aliens' first reaction to humanity's real capabilities, Captain Jessica Miller spoke 4 words that would be remembered in history books across 1,000 worlds. "Let's crash their party." "Impossible." Commander Zextal's mandibles clattered in agitation as the Thunderchild accelerated toward his fleet. The human vessel's movements defied every principle of propulsion the Empire had documented across 10,000 years of space warfare. No primitive nuclear drive could achieve those vectors. The Thunderchild carved an elegant spiral through space, its hybrid drive leaving a trail of quantum particles that scattered Zaxkarian targeting systems. Captain Miller watched the alien fleet's formation dissolve into chaos as they attempted to track her ship's trajectory. "Mr. Rodriguez," she called out, "show them what that impossible drive of yours can do." "With pleasure, Captain." Rodriguez's fingers danced across his console, initiating quantum slipstream in 3, 2, 1. The Thunderchild's drive core pulsed with a brilliant blue light. In the fraction of a second before they moved, Miller caught sight of her reflection in the bridge's viewport, her fierce grin matched by every member of her crew. They'd trained for this moment, but the reality was even sweeter than the simulations. The ship vanished. On the Zaxkarian command vessel, sensor operators screamed in frustration. Their advanced arrays detected the human ship in 12 different locations simultaneously. Energy readings fluctuated wildly, making it impossible to determine which signature was real. "How?" Zextal demanded, all four arms gesturing frantically at the tactical display. "Their technological level precludes this level of advancement." His science officer's response was cut short as the Thunderchild materialized directly above their flagship, so close that the crews could see each other through their respective viewports. Captain Miller stood at attention, making direct eye contact with the alien commander. "That's the problem with empires," her voice transmitted clearly across all frequencies. "You get so used to being superior that you forget how to innovate." The Thunderchild's drive flared again, this time executing a maneuver that human pilots had dubbed the Mobius twist. The ship spiraled around its own axis while simultaneously creating a localized gravity well, using the Zaxkarian fleet's own mass to slingshot between their formations. In engineering, Rodriguez monitored the hybrid drive's output with pride. "The quantum field is holding steady, Captain. Our calculations were correct. Their sensors can't distinguish between our real position and the probability shadows." "Tactical status report," Miller commanded, watching as the alien fleet scrambled to regroup. Lieutenant Sarah Cooper's hands flew over her weapons console. "Their targeting systems are completely confused, ma'am. The quantum wake from our drive is creating false positives faster than they can process them. We're effectively invisible to their conventional tracking methods." The Zaxkarian fleet's response was predictable. They began firing blindly, energy weapons and plasma torpedoes filling space with deadly light. But the Thunderchild danced through the barrage like a leaf in the wind, each impossible movement further demoralizing the alien crews. "Captain," Rodriguez called out, excitement evident in his voice, "the drive's performing better than our simulations predicted. The quantum entanglement effect is creating micro-wormholes in our wake. We could use those for tactical advantages." Miller nodded, her mind already racing with possibilities. This was why humanity had survived and thrived throughout its history. The ability to adapt, to see new opportunities in the middle of chaos. "Send the data to tactical," she ordered. "Lieutenant Cooper, prepare to synchronize weapons systems with the wormhole formations. Let's show them another impossible trick." The Thunderchild's movements became even more erratic, each burst from its hybrid drive tearing small holes in spacetime. The Zaxkarian fleet, bound by their rigid tactical doctrine, could only watch in mounting horror as their enemy seemed to break the very laws of physics. Commander Zextal slumped in his command chair, all four eyes wide with disbelief. In 10,000 years of expansion, the Empire had never encountered a species that could match their technological superiority. Yet here was a primitive human vessel, not just matching their capabilities, but exceeding them in ways their science had deemed impossible. "Send word to the Imperial fleet," he ordered, his voice heavy with the weight of approaching defeat. "We may have miscalculated. The battle for Earth was just beginning, and humanity's greatest secret weapon wasn't the Thunderchild's advanced technology. It was the boundless creativity of its crew. Commander Zextal had seen enough. All ships, concentrate fire. I want that human vessel atomized. The Zaxkarian fleet responded with devastating synchronization. 50 warships, each capable of destroying a continent, unleashed their full arsenal at the Thunderchild. Space itself seemed to ignite as energy weapons, plasma torpedoes, and quantum-tipped missiles converged on the lone human ship. Captain Miller's voice remained steady. Dr. Rodriguez, initiate the deflector protocol. Kinetic redistribution field active, Captain, Rodriguez reported, his fingers flying across holographic controls, ready to give them back their presence. The first wave of attacks struck the Thunderchild's outer defensive layer. Instead of the expected explosion, the energy weapons seemed to splash across an invisible barrier, their deadly power spreading out like ripples in a pond. The plasma torpedoes, designed to burn through the strongest shields, simply stopped, hanging in space as if frozen in time. Impossible, a Zaxkarian weapons officer screamed. Their shields should have collapsed instantly. Miller allowed herself a small smile. Mr. Rodriguez, would you care to explain to our friends out there why they're wrong? The Thunderchild doesn't use shields. Exactly. Rodriguez's voice transmitted across all frequencies. We studied your technology from that crashed scout ship. Shields try to absorb or deflect energy. We decided that was inefficient. He paused for dramatic effect. Why waste all that lovely energy when you can redirect it? The frozen plasma torpedoes suddenly reversed direction, accelerating back toward their points of origin. The quantum missiles followed, their warheads reprogrammed mid-flight by the Thunderchild's advanced systems. 3 Zaxkarian cruisers vanished in spectacular explosions as their own weapons turned against them. That's impossible. Zextal's mandibles clattered in frustration. The energy requirements alone. See, that's your problem, Miller interrupted. You keep using that word, impossible. On Earth, we have a saying. Impossible just means no one's done it yet. The Thunderchild's defensive system wasn't just protecting the ship, it was learning. Each attack the Zaxkarians launched provided more data, more energy to harness, more patterns to analyze. Rodriguez's team had spent years developing algorithms that could adapt to any weapon signature in real time. Captain, Lieutenant Cooper called from Tactical. Their fleet is adjusting formation. They're trying to surround us with a 3-dimensional firing solution. Miller nodded, just like the simulations predicted. Execute Maneuver Delta 7. The Thunderchild's hybrid drive flared to life, creating a localized distortion in space-time. As the Zaxkarian ships fired again, their weapons encountered not just the kinetic redistribution field, but a maze of micro-wormholes created by the drive's quantum wake. Energy beams emerged from unexpected vectors, striking their own ships. Plasma torpedoes disappeared into one spatial distortion only to emerge from another, their targeting systems completely confused. The perfectly coordinated attack dissolved into chaos as the alien fleet started taking damage from their own redirected firepower. Status report, Miller commanded, watching as another Zaxkarian cruiser succumbed to its own weapons. Kinetic redistribution field at 87% efficiency, Rodriguez reported. Each attack is actually charging our systems. We could theoretically maintain this defense indefinitely. Cooper added from Tactical. Enemy fleet showing signs of disorganization. They've lost 5 ships, with 3 more reporting critical damage. No damage to Thunderchild. On his command ship, Zextal watched in horror as his fleet's most powerful weapons proved worse than useless. In 10,000 years of warfare, the Empire had never encountered a defense system that could turn their own strength against them so completely. All ships, cease fire, he ordered. Fall back and regroup. We need a new strategy. As the Zaxkarian fleet retreated to a safer distance, Miller turned to her crew. Well done, everyone. But don't celebrate yet. That was just their opening move. They'll be back with something bigger. Rodriguez nodded at his console, already analyzing the battle data. Let them come, Captain. The more they throw at us, the more we learn about their weapons. And the more we learn, the stronger we become, Miller finished. Humanity's greatest weapon has always been our ability to adapt. Time to show the Empire what that really means. The Zaxkarian commander's next strike was surgical and precise. A quantum-phased beam, carefully calibrated to slip through the gaps in the Thunderchild's defensive field, struck the bridge with devastating accuracy. Warning klaxons blared as systems sparked and failed. Direct hit to command and control. Rodriguez shouted over the chaos. Main bridge controls are offline. In any Zaxkarian vessel, this would have been a killing blow. Their crews, genetically engineered and trained for singular roles, would have been paralyzed without their command hierarchy. But the Thunderchild wasn't a Zaxkarian ship. Captain Miller's voice cut through the smoke. Execute Protocol Omega. All hands, adaptive positions. What happened next stunned the watching alien fleet. Lieutenant Cooper smoothly slid from tactical into the navigation station, her hundreds of hours in the simulator paying off. Rodriguez's assistant, Jenny Martinez, took over weapons control while simultaneously monitoring engineering subsystems. Even the ship's doctor, James Wilson, stepped in to coordinate damage control teams, his knowledge of the ship's layout proving invaluable. Quite a light show they gave us, Miller commented, now operating from the auxiliary tactical station. Lieutenant Cooper, how's our maneuverability? Different interface, same principles, Captain, Cooper replied, her fingers dancing across the unfamiliar console with practiced ease. Giving you helm control in 3, 2, 1. The Thunderchild executed a perfect barrel roll, avoiding the next barrage of alien fire. On the Zaxkarian command ship, Zextal's mandibles clattered in confusion. Impossible. We destroyed their bridge control systems. Their command structure should have collapsed. He turned to his science officer. Explain this. The science officer's antennae twitched nervously. Sir, scans indicate the humans are changing positions. Each crew member appears capable of performing multiple functions. They're adapting. How can they adapt? Zextal demanded. Each role requires years of specialized training, generations of genetic engineering. Back on the Thunderchild, Miller watched her crew prove exactly why humanity had survived countless disasters throughout its history. Dr. Wilson, between coordinating repair teams, had rigged a makeshift medical bay in engineering. Martinez was simultaneously running damage simulations while operating the weapons systems with deadly accuracy. Status report, Miller called out, pride evident in her voice. Main bridge is completely shot, Rodriguez reported from his backup station. But we've rerouted all critical systems through secondary controls. Efficiency at 92% and climbing as we adjust to the new configuration. Cooper added from navigation. The aliens seem confused by our ability to change positions, Captain. Their attacks are becoming less coordinated. I think we scared them. Miller nodded, understanding dawning. They don't cross-train their crews. They can't imagine adapting to new roles. She keyed the ship-wide comm. All hands, this is exactly what we trained for. Humanity didn't get to the stars by staying in our lanes. We got here by learning, adapting, and overcoming. Show them what that means. The Thunderchild's response to the bridge hit wasn't just survival, it was evolution. With each crew member applying their multiple skill sets, the ship began performing maneuvers that wouldn't have been possible with the original configuration. Martinez discovered she could time weapons fire more accurately from her new position. Cooper found that her tactical experience gave her insights into evasive patterns. Captain, Rodriguez called out, excitement in his voice. I think we can use this. The secondary systems are actually more efficient for some operations, if we reconfigure our standard operations based on what we're learning. Make it happen, Miller ordered. Humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to turn setbacks into advantages. The Zaxkarian fleet watched in growing horror as their supposedly crippling strike transformed the human vessel into something even more dangerous. Every attempt to exploit the Thunderchild's damaged systems only revealed new capabilities as the crew adapted and overcame. "Sir," the Zaxkarian science officer reported, his voice trembling, "they're not just surviving our attacks. They're getting better." Zextal stared at the human ship, finally understanding what made this species so dangerous. They hadn't just built a superior vessel, they'd created a crew that could evolve in real time, turning every challenge into an opportunity for growth. "Alert the Dreadnought fleet," he ordered quietly. Tell them we found something new. Their shield harmonics are adapting to our redistributed energy." Rodriguez called out from his makeshift engineering station. His hands flew across 3 different control interfaces simultaneously, each one showing cascading data from the Thunderchild's defensive systems. The Zaxkarian fleet had regrouped, this time with a new strategy. Their weapons now pulsed at rotating frequencies, probing for weaknesses in the human vessel's defenses. Each blast carried a different energy signature, testing, learning, searching for a way through. Captain Miller watched the tactical display, her mind racing. They're learning, adapting their attacks. Good. Show them they're not the only ones who can evolve. Martinez, what do you see in their pattern? Lieutenant Martinez, still manning both weapons and damage control, studied the incoming data. There's a rhythm to it, Captain. Each ship fires in sequence, creating a resonance pattern. If we could match that frequency and inverse it. Do it, Miller ordered. Rodriguez, give her what she needs. The engineering team sprang into action. What happened next demonstrated why humanity had survived every catastrophe in its history. Pure, unbridled innovation under pressure. Rodriguez's voice carried across the bridge, excitement breaking through his professional tone. Captain, what if we don't just redirect their energy? What if we store it, modulate it through the quantum drive's auxiliary systems, and create our own frequency weapon? Martinez finished, already seeing where he was going. The drive's containment field could act as a temporary energy matrix. Make it happen, Miller commanded. Cooper, keep us moving. Buy them time. The Thunderchild executed a series of tight maneuvers, its hybrid drive leaving confused sensor ghosts in its wake. Each blast from the alien fleet struck the kinetic redistribution field, but now instead of simply bouncing back, the energy was being channeled, stored, transformed. On the Zaxkarian command ship, Zextal noticed something strange. Why aren't they returning fire? Scan their weapon systems. His science officer's antennae twitched in confusion. Sir, their power readings are increasing exponentially. But that's impossible. No ship this size could contain that much energy without. The Thunderchild suddenly stopped its evasive pattern. Every light on its hull dimmed for a fraction of a second. Energy matrix at maximum capacity, Rodriguez reported, his voice tense with concentration. Quantum harmonics aligned. Martinez, you have weapons control. Target locked, Martinez confirmed. Firing solution computed. This is either going to be spectacular or... Let's find out, Miller said, allowing herself a small smile. Fire. The stored energy, modulated through the quantum drive and shaped by the Thunderchild's innovative crew, erupted from the ship in a brilliant cascade of light. But instead of a single beam, it split into dozens of precisely calibrated streams, each one exactly matched to the inverse frequency of the Zaxkarian shield. The effect was devastating. 3 alien ships simply vanished, their shields collapsing as the energy passed through them like they weren't there. 4 more spun out of formation, their systems overloaded by the precise frequency match. Holy shit, Cooper whispered from navigation. That actually worked. Of course it worked, Rodriguez replied, already analyzing the data from their improvised weapon. The math was solid. And now that we know it works, his fingers flew across the controls. Captain, I can refine the process. Make it even more efficient. Miller nodded, watching as the Zaxkarian fleet scrambled to adjust their shields. They thought they had us figured out. thought they could adapt to our defenses. Instead, we turned their own attack pattern into a weapon they've never seen before. Captain, Martin is called out. They're changing formation again. Looks like they're preparing for another assault. Let them come, Miller replied. Humanity didn't get this far by standing still. Every attack they throw at us is just another opportunity to innovate. She keyed the ship-wide comm. All hands, this is what we do best. We take what's thrown at us, we learn from it, and we turn it into something new. Something better. Something impossible. The Thunderchild's hull hummed with stored energy, ready for the next exchange. In the space of a single battle, its crew had already evolved beyond the original design specifications, creating new weapons and tactics on the fly. And they were just getting started. Space rippled like disturbed water as the Zaxkarian dreadnought fleet emerged from hyperspace. 5 massive warships, each one 3 times the size of the largest vessels humanity had faced so far, took up attack positions around Earth. Their crystalline hulls pulsed with blood-red energy, a testament to the destructive power contained within. Well, Miller said, studying the tactical display, looks like we got their attention. Lieutenant Cooper's voice was tight with tension. Those are world breakers, Captain. According to the data from the crashed scout ship, a single one of those ended the Centaurian rebellion by destroying 3 planets simultaneously. The bridge crew watched as the massive ships moved into formation. Their very presence seemed to distort nearby space, gravity wells forming in their wake. The remaining ships of the original fleet scrambled to make way, like minnows avoiding sharks. Lieutenant Martinez, Miller called out. What do you see? Martine had studied the sensor readings, her eyes narrowing. They're predictable, Captain. The formation they're taking, it's exactly like the historical records from the scout ship. Same approach vector, same spacing. They haven't changed their tactics in over 300 years. Technological stagnation. Rodriguez added from engineering. They found something that worked and stopped innovating. But that means they're vulnerable. Miller finished. Cooper, bring us about. Rodriguez, I want every sensor we have analyzing those behemoths. Look for anything unusual, any pattern we can exploit. The Thunderchild moved cautiously, its quantum drive creating a web of sensor ghosts to mask its true position. The dreadnoughts responded with a devastating display of firepower, launching a barrage that would have annihilated a small moon. But something was different this time. Captain, Rodriguez called out excitedly. Their weapons, they're using modulated quantum frequencies, just like the data archive suggested. But look at this. He transmitted the analysis to the main display. The modulation is exact. Perfect. Too perfect. Miller leaned forward, understanding dawning. They're using the same programming, the same sequences they've used for centuries. And that's their weakness, Martinez added, fingers flying across her tactical display. Their weapons are more powerful than anything we've faced, but they're following patterns we've already studied. Patterns we can predict. The first dreadnought salvo struck the Thunderchild's defensive field. Instead of attempting to deflect the massive energy assault, the human ship's systems absorbed it, analyzed it, learned from it. Rerouting power through the auxiliary quantum matrix, Rodriguez reported. Captain, I have an idea. It's crazy, but those are my favorite kind, Doctor, Miller replied with a grim smile. What do you need? Their weapons are quantum-based, just like our drive. If we can synchronize our field harmonics with their attack frequency, then invert the phase at the exact moment of impact, we could create a quantum resonance cascade. Martinez finished, already seeing the possibility. Turn their own power against them. Miller nodded. Make it happen. Cooper, get us into position. We're about to show the Empire why humanity never stopped asking what if. The Thunderchild accelerated directly toward the lead dreadnought, seeming to commit suicide by charging the massive vessel. The alien ship's weapon ports glowed with building energy, preparing to deliver a killing blow. Quantum harmonics aligned, Rodriguez called out. Field inversion ready on your mark. Weapons locked. Martinez added. Resonance calculators spooled up. Miller watched the distance counter tick down, waiting for the perfect moment. The dreadnought's weapons reached full power, its crystalline hull blazing with deadly light. Now, the Thunderchild's systems executed the impossible maneuver perfectly. As the dreadnought's quantum beam struck, the human ship's defensive field inverted, creating a feedback loop that no engineer in the Empire had ever conceived possible. The massive alien vessel's own energy turned inward, its perfect crystalline structure becoming its downfall, as the resonance cascade tore through its systems like a tsunami through paper. The pride of the Zaxkarian fleet, unconquered in 3 centuries of warfare, began to break apart. And humanity's lone defender was just getting started. The destruction of the first dreadnought sent shockwaves through the Zaxkarian fleet. The remaining 4 super warships adjusted their formation, their crystalline hulls vibrating with barely contained energy. Those shots weren't random, Miller announced, studying the tactical display. They're trying to force us into a specific position. Rodriguez, what are you seeing? They're creating an overlapping gravity field. Rodriguez replied, his hands dancing across multiple interfaces. If we move into it, we'll be trapped. But Captain, his voice took on an eager tone. Remember Project Prometheus? Miller's eyes lit up. You mean it's ready? Been ready since we launched, just waiting for the right moment. The captain nodded, keying the ship-wide comm. All hands. This is it. Everything we've shown them so far was just the warm-up. Time to show the Empire why humanity's greatest weapon isn't our technology. It's our imagination. Through the viewports, the 4 remaining dreadnoughts began charging their main weapons. Space itself seemed to bend around their massive forms, reality distorting under the immense energy buildup. Initiating Prometheus Protocol, Rodriguez announced. Martinez, transferring weapons control to your station. Cooper, I'll need precise positioning. The Thunderchild's hull began to pulse with a strange, almost organic rhythm. Panels that had appeared decorative suddenly shifted, revealing previously hidden systems that even the ship's enemies couldn't have imagined. On the Zaxkarian command ship, Zextal's science officers screamed in panic. Impossible energy readings. The human vessel is transforming. The Thunderchild's true nature was finally revealed. Its hull split along precise lines, mechanical segments shifting and realigning. What had appeared to be a single warship suddenly became a hub for dozens of smaller craft, each one powered by a miniature version of the main quantum drive. Drone swarm deployed. Martins reported, her fingers flying across the tactical controls. All units showing green. Quantum entanglement network stable. Miller smiled. Begin the dance. The smaller craft shot out in all directions, each one leaving its own web of sensor ghosts and probability shadows. The dreadnought's targeting systems, designed to track single large vessels, were suddenly faced with hundreds of potential targets, all moving in seemingly random patterns. They're trying to adapt, Cooper called out, detecting power fluctuations in their weapon systems as they attempt to redistribute their fire. Too late, Rodriguez responded. Quantum network is online. Martinez, show them what these little ones can do. The drones suddenly moved in perfect synchronization, their movements guided by both advanced AI and human intuition. Each one carried a fraction of the Thunderchild's revolutionary technology, not enough to be detected individually, but together. Initiating quantum cascade, Martins announced. Synchronized fire in 3, 2, 1. Energy beams from hundreds of drones converged simultaneously, their power multiplied by quantum entanglement. The dreadnought's supposedly impenetrable shields faced something they'd never been designed to handle, attacks coming from everywhere and nowhere at once, each beam perfectly calibrated to exploit weaknesses that only emerged for microseconds. 2 more dreadnoughts erupted in crystalline explosions, their perfect formations shattered by humanity's impossible weapon. Sir, The Zaxkarian science officer's voice cracked with desperation. Their drone swarm, it's not just coordinated. Each unit is quantum linked to the others. They're acting as a single entity, but with impossible complexity. Our tactical computers can't process the pattern. Zextol watched in horror as his mighty fleet was systematically dismantled by technology that shouldn't exist. How? How did they hide this? How did they develop such weapons in secret? Miller's voice cut across all frequencies, calm and certain. You thought you knew everything about us. You saw our satellites, our primitive nuclear weapons, our limited space presence. But you forgot something crucial about humanity. We never show all our cards at once. The Thunderchild and its swarm moved as one, a deadly dance of technology and innovation that defied the Empire's understanding of what was possible. Each drone adapted its attacks in real time, learning and evolving even as they fought. The age of Zaxkarian supremacy was ending, not with a desperate last stand, but with the revelation of humanity's true potential. And they were just getting started. The last two dreadnoughts hung in space like wounded leviathans, their crystalline hulls cracked and sparking with escaping energy. The remnants of the once mighty Zaxkarian fleet clustered behind them, their crews watching in stunned silence as the Thunderchild's drone swarm regrouped around their mothership. Final status report, Miller commanded, her voice carrying the weight of history in the making. Drone swarm at 92% operational capacity, Martins reported. Quantum network is stable and adapting to enemy countermeasures faster than they can deploy them. Engineering systems operating at peak efficiency, Rodriguez added. The data we've gathered from this engagement. Captain, we've learned more about quantum physics in the last few hours than the Empire has in centuries. Commander Zextel's voice crackled across the command channel, different now, the arrogance replaced by something approaching awe. Captain Miller of Earth eyed request pause for communication. Miller nodded to Cooper, who opened the channel. We're listening, Commander. In 10,000 years of expansion, the Empire has never. Zextel's mandibles clicked in agitation. How? How did one planet, one species, create such advancement in secret? Miller stood from her command chair, addressing not just Zextel, but the entire alien fleet. Because you gave us something precious, Commander. You gave us time. That scout ship that crashed in our desert. We didn't just study it. We improved it, refined it, reimagined it. She gestured to the drone swarm, their hulls glinting in Earth's sunlight. Every limitation you accepted, we questioned. Every impossibility you declared, we challenged. While you were perfecting what you knew, we were discovering what could be. But your civilization, Zextel protested. Your primitive weapons, your limited space presence. Rodriguez chuckled from his station. Smoke and mirrors, Commander. The oldest trick in humanity's book, letting your opponent underestimate you. The Thunderchild's drone swarm executed a precise maneuver, forming a complex, three-dimensional pattern around the ship. Each drone pulsed with energy, creating a quantum web that could tear apart the fabric of space itself. You have a choice now, Miller continued. The Empire can retreat, rethink its policy of conquest, and perhaps return one day as equals rather than conquerors. Or, she let the threat hang unspoken as the drone swarm's energy pattern intensified. On his command ship, Zextel faced the most difficult decision of his career. His mandibles clicked rapidly as he processed the implications. And if we choose to escalate, to return with an even larger fleet, then you'll find we're just getting started, Miller replied. The Thunderchild isn't our only ship, Commander. It's our prototype. The lie was perfect, delivered with such conviction that even her own crew almost believed it. The Zaxkarians, with their rigid adherence to hierarchy and protocol, would never imagine someone of her rank would dare such deception. Stand down all weapons, Zextel finally ordered his fleet. Prepare for emergency temporal jump, Captain Miller. The Empire will not forget this day. That's what we're counting on, Miller responded. Take this message back to your leaders. Earth is not your enemy. We could be your greatest allies, if you're willing to learn how to innovate again. The Zaxkarian fleet retreated in stages, their once perfect formation now ragged and uncertain. As the last ships disappeared into hyperspace, the bridge crew of the Thunderchild finally allowed themselves to relax. "Think they bought it?" Cooper asked, grinning. "About us having more ships?" Miller smiled, watching Earth rotate peacefully below them. "They'll spend years searching for vessels that don't exist yet, but by the time they realize the truth, we'll have built them. Humanity has always been good at making our bluffs into reality." Rodriguez's console beeped with incoming data. "Captain, the quantum physics we discovered during this battle. The applications are endless. We could revolutionize space travel, energy production, defense systems. That's always been humanity's real strength," Miller replied. "Not just surviving, but learning, growing, taking today's impossible and turning it into tomorrow's standard." She turned to face her crew. "Let's go home. We have a lot of work to do." The Thunderchild turned toward Earth, its drone swarm reintegrating seamlessly with the hull. Behind them, the stars seemed to shine brighter, beckoning humanity toward a future where impossible was just another challenge to overcome. And somewhere in deep space, an empire that had known only conquest for 10,000 years began to remember how to dream.